Hey, next we are going to do a spoiler discussion about Deadpool and Wolverine starting now. Welcome back to the Nerd Solo Show. I'm Nathan.
And I'm David.
And I'm Colin.
Hey, so I did a spoiler-free review of the movie earlier this week. The link is somewhere up there. So David and Colin saw it last night. We're going to fully spoil the movie. So if you have not seen it, go see it before you listen to our conversation, because we're going to talk about everything. I already gave my review and my rating. So just briefly, David, you want to talk about what you thought about the movie, and then Colin, and then you can give your rating. So David, what did you think about the movie?
I enjoyed it a lot, and there were a lot of things I did not expect to see. They did a good job of keeping things tight-lipped and everything, unlike Tom Holland. I had to bring that up. But because they didn't spoil anything from the trailers, or everyone did a good job of not spoiling anything as well. Even Ryan Reynolds has been posted on Facebook saying, "Don't you dare spoil anything of this movie." It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it a lot. There was a few things that kind of drag on a little bit, but not a lot though. But it's a lot of fanfare right there as well and everything, along with a few surprises and everything. But I enjoyed it a lot. And I gave this movie a rating of a 9, which is a movie marathon.
All right, so Colin, what did you think of the movie?
I thought that the movie was great. I think that it was number one on my list of most anticipated for the year. It's going to probably blow up a lot of records box office wise, maybe going to be the top grossing movie of this year. Is the MCU back? Hard to say right now. I can see where some of the critics were talking about why it wasn't as good as they thought. I think it's a little bit exaggerated, overblown. I think that was for clicks purposes. There's definitely some things that are there that were problematic, but at the same time, the cameos really helped it to bring it along. I think the story was okay. It wasn't a great story, but again, there was a lot of humor. There was a lot of the deeper type of feeling. But I think that in some of the other movies that Wolverine has been in were probably better in terms of an emotional content. This movie definitely has its beats, but it's not as much as I would like it to be. But overall, enjoyable ride. Is the MCU back? Hard to say, and we'll take it from there and see what the next MCU movie has to offer for the audiences.
Okay. Yeah, like I said, I gave my review earlier in the week. The only thing I would add to what I said is that I don't think it's as good as, say, Endgame, but it is better than the second Deadpool movie. And I don't think it's as good as the first Deadpool movie, but it's probably one of the best. Hugh Jackman, I think, has been in 10 movies as Wolverine. It's not as good as Logan, but it might be the second best. I don't know. I think Days of Future Past is a better movie, but it's not a better performance from Hugh Jackman. I think he had more to do in this one, and there's more like emotional beats in this one than in Days of Future Past. Days of Future Past has a lot more going on because there's a lot more characters and it's not just focused on Wolverine. I think this had better emotional beats than anything else he's been in except for Logan. I mean, Logan's a very special. It's one of the best book movies or movie. It's just a good movie. It's hard to top that. But yeah, it's a really good. And Hugh Jackman is a great actor, and you found that out or you knew that from other things he was doing, and also Logan. He actually got to act in this one. So yeah, it was good. Yeah. All right, so let's get into the details. I guess you guys didn't really do much spoilers. So I'm going to do another spoiler warning again, because I'm going to get into the details. So spoilers ahead.
Yeah. One other thing is that my rating was going to be a 9. So I thought about 8, 9 is going to be with the cameos.
Sorry, I thought you did your rating earlier. Sorry about that.
All right.
So your rating's a 9. So movie marathon, David did a 9 as well, and I did a 9 in my review as well. All right, let's get into it. What do you guys want to talk about? I have images that I used in the spoiler-free review, but I don't have any screenshots of the movie itself, like spoiler stuff from the movie. I did a list of my favorite cameos, so I can pull some of the images from that. What do you guys want to talk about specifically?
I think that I want to talk about the cameos because it's definitely something that's on my mind. I think that Chris Evans really did a very deep fake on all of us. When I was in the audience, I was like, oh yes, it's going to be Captain America. Oh yeah, no, it's Johnny Storm. Okay. So that was actually a pretty good in itself. And I think that also with Henry Cavill being Wolverine, that was also awesome as well. I don't know why they didn't mention Superman, but it's okay. It's okay that he didn't mention it, probably because of
there's no reason to mention the Superman, because he's like everyone knows who Henry Cavill is. Everyone knows what he was famous for. So I think the reference about those people down the street, they're not treating you well, we'll treat you better, it was enough. Everyone knows who there's no reason to mention his previous roles.
I
They
think
didn't mention the
yeah.
Witcher. They didn't mention the Witcher either, but
Yeah, I think that if he did something like Kal-El or something like that, what he did with Thanos, with Cable, that would have been that would have given me a laugh. But that's just me. That's just my kind of humor.
yeah. So yes, I mentioned in my list of cameos that I was a little upset for a second. I thought they were going to undercut Anthony Mackie's Captain America, but they did the bait and switch, and it was the goofy Johnny Storm, and I really appreciated his willingness to go there and make himself look goofy again, because everyone thinks of him as a sex symbol now and like a very stand-up guy. But yeah, Johnny Storm, the character that he played before Captain America, was a doofus, and he was fully prepared to play the doofus again, which is funny. Yeah.
I know he's gonna be in it because when we and Colin were watching last night, I thought I heard his voice. I'm like, wait a minute, is that who I think it is? And we both thought it's gonna be Captain America, but it turned out it's Johnny Storm, hence the 4. I was like, oh, so I was like, wow, I didn't expect that.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things I did not expect it. And then
so yeah, that Johnny, he was my number 2 on my list. Honestly, the Gambit was my number 1. It was just so funny. It was just so funny. Channing Tatum just was game to do the thing with the weird Cajun accent. He looks so weird because Channing Tatum, he used to be smaller, but right now he's really big. So he just looks like a very buff Gambit, because every time Gambit drawn or animated, he's much more of a slight man. It was it was funny to me. It was very funny to me.
I know, it's just, I think because of his costume, especially the headpiece there, because it's really tight on him. That's why I look at him like, did he gain weight? But then I realized, oh wait, his headpiece is too tight.
He has a big head, and he's just very muscular. He's just very muscular. So yeah.
And I don't like but the only thing I love Gambit though, he portrayed this Gambit version very well. I give him credit for that. It didn't use some of his dance moves, because Channing Tatum was, as everyone knows, he's Magic Mike. He put his dancing in there during the fight and stuff like that, especially with the bow stick. So I give him credit on that. Just like the costume itself, he got the jacket right. Just the whole thing is so shiny. I'm like, wait a minute. It's in the cover. It's more like a Kevlar kind of thing. So I expected he would be like Kevlar looking, like Deadpool and Wolverine. But no. But I liked how he did it, even though his accent, the whole Louisiana accent, I'm like, okay, it's a little too much, man, with the French there.
I think he was intentionally doing a bad and also very difficult to understand accent. I think he was like leaning into the joke, which is why he's the top of my list of cameos. Like I said, I don't know where I know, Colin, you've ranked your top 3, but I don't know, David, if you've ranked the cameos. He's the top of my list, followed by Chris Evans, and then Blade,
Wesley Snipes.
Wesley Snipes.
They still pull a joke on Wesley Snipes saying, I heard you retired. I'm like, oh, they're gonna do this thing again with him? They did the exact same joke back in the Expendables 3, saying that his character is saying to his character, I've already retired.
Yeah, it was nice to see Wesley Snipes back. He was actually number 1 on my list, and also definitely a reference to Blade Trinity as well, which was really good.
Yeah.
They should have done that. They should have done that in Deadpool 2, but they didn't. I don't know why. Probably got lost in all the jokes and stuff like that. But yeah, he was my number 1 cameo by far, because it's just nice to see him back on the screen.
Yeah.
And,
I think the cameos in this one, like, the reason I would put this movie higher than, I know that the guys in No Way Home were in more than one scene. Sorry, but I feel like the fight scene that they got was more extensive. They had the road trip. I don't know. It was extended. There were definitely cameos, but they were extended cameos. They actually had something to do with the story. I appreciate these cameos more than the Spider-Man ones, for me anyway. They worked better. I will say that they did something more interesting with the villains in that one, because the villains were, again, more integral to the plot than the Spider-Man that show up at the end. Whereas the villains here, they recasted a bunch of these people.
Yeah, they Deathstrike.
Not just Juggernaut,
Deathstrike
is not the same person. I think the Azazel is a different actor.
Yeah.
They're just like, they're just variants. They're variants of the ones that came out the movies.
The other thing we keep forgetting is like they're variants though. The only thing is like the original.
Sure, I also think they just didn't want to pay the other actors because they're small parts, and they, like, Azazel didn't even speak in this one, so they're not going to pay the original guy from what was the movie he was in?
First Class.
First Class. They're not going to pay the original guy from First Class. But yeah, and I guess if I was going to go through cameos, I could list like all the villains, but like I said, most of them were like all recast. I don't think anyone showed up who was original except, I think, Sabretooth, the guy who played Sabretooth.
And Toad.
Yeah, he was an original, and Toad
and Pyro.
Pyro.
Yeah, and he was the original, but I thought thought they recast him with Leo Stryver, but they also erased that entire movie.
Yeah.
So because if they hadn't erased that movie, Deadpool was in that movie, right? So
Yeah.
I think they.
But you can also say that he erased the whole timeline by shooting Deadpool at the end of Deadpool 2. He did all that. He could probably say all that.
But I think Days of Future Past erased that movie. But anyway, yeah, and Daphne Keane was good to see her. We, as I mentioned in my cameo breakdown, we just saw her in The Acolyte. I was very surprised to see her. As a matter of fact, I saw Channing Tatum in Fly Me to the Moon a couple weeks ago. I wasn't expecting to see him so soon again either when he popped up in this movie. But yeah, I should have suspected that she was going to show up, but was very surprised when she came in as the fourth person from Logan.
Too bad I saw the TV promo, so I was like, I already knew. So,
yeah, I specifically.
they should never have done that, but it's okay.
Yeah, what I mentioned in my review a little on Tuesday or Wednesday, I forget when I posted it. I ignored everything after the second trailer. Like, I was gonna go see it anyway. I need to see it professionally. They don't need to so there's no reason for me to watch trailers to get me to go and see it. So all it was gonna do was ruin the experience for me, and ruin surprises for me. Yeah, it sucks that they put that in the trailer. I think to get like that last bit of money, probably in 2 or 3 weeks, all of these spoilers, all of these cameos are going to be spoiled. They'll put them in the trailer. They eventually put all the other Peters in the Spider-Man trailers. Like after it was released, like 2 weeks later, they put the other Spider-Man in the trailer. So to get the last bit of money.
I think, speaking of money, I think that it probably will track to make $1 billion, because I just think that it's going to be that huge. I think people are going to see it multiple times. I'm going to see it on Sunday again.
Yeah.
And you've already seen it. This is your second time, right?
Yeah, I went to the great screening on Monday, and then I saw it again last night with my wife, and she loved it as well. She said she didn't necessarily get all the references, because a lot of the references have nothing to do with comic book stuff. It's Hollywood stuff, like Hugh Jackman just got divorced. Wesley Snipes hated Ryan Reynolds on the set of Blade Trinity. You would have to know all that stuff to get all those references. I guess when Jennifer Garner made fun of Ben Affleck, that was pretty obvious. I guess he didn't have to necessarily be following all of celebrity news to know that it was a joke about Ben Affleck. But yeah, there's a lot of Hollywood references in this movie, because he's breaking the fourth wall and they're just talking about them as like who they are as humans as opposed to the characters a lot. Yeah.
Did you think that the Nice Pool, did you think that he was annoying, or do you think that he was like Ryan Reynolds was just trying to go overboard with himself?
I think
what do you mean?
I think, but I think he's annoying and everything. I think again, he's a variant. Maybe there's a variant of a Deadpool that happened to be all perfect, basically, except that the one thing about him is that
except for he's still a mercenary. It seems like he's still a mercenary.
The thing is, he doesn't have the regenerative trait like everyone else. So that's the thing. So,
but rewatching the movie, it makes sense that he didn't have the regenerative trait. Didn't all that stuff happen to his face because of the powers in the first movie? He was a mercenary before that happened to him, right? He was like a person for hire. Then he went through the ordeal, the mutation or whatever. I think he might have already had the mutation, but they bombarded him with a bunch of crap to accelerate it or whatever. So he was not regenerative before, and he was killing people before. So I guess this is just like an alternate universe where he didn't go through that stuff, so he can't regenerate, and he kept his face basically.
He looked like Thor.
Yeah. So yeah, it was funny. What was also very funny was Chris Evans losing his skin.
Oh yeah.
And the joke about what he was doing to the budget, so they had to get rid of him as quickly as possible. It would have just been too expensive for him to be on set for too much longer.
How about all this different? Now we talk about cameos. What about the different Wolverines we've seen? Like you mentioned about Henry Cavill is one of the Wolverines, but I recognize some of the iconic Wolverines scenes there. Like for example, like the one with the patch is
it's called Patch. Yeah,
it's literally called Patch. When he was infiltrating a crime organization, the Mandapore, and then we have the brown 1980s costume where he was fighting against the Hulk.
And the Hulk showed up a little bit. You saw his back anyway. They didn't want to spend money animating his face, so you just saw his back, and he basically said something very similar to what Loki said, and then he got thrown into a tree, something about dull creature or something like that, and then he got thrown into a tree, which is funny.
And then we saw Apocalypse, Wolverine,
Age of Apocalypse with the hand cut off. Yeah, in the alley.
And then the
Yeah.
last one is the when he was crucified which is the well-known iconic cover of Uncanny number, I think it was number 251. That's the iconic thing where he was crucified basically. And then we got this Wolverine, which is there's no known comic version of a worse Wolverine. And then
We also got Old Man Logan on the porch with the shotgun, and also what they're calling comics accurate Logan. Now, it was a funny gag, but he's a little bit taller than that. And also, if they didn't want him to look good, so they don't have to actually recast him in someone who's actually the right height. He's about 5'3", so he would have been taller than that. Also, he's stout, so his muscle mass wouldn't have been that small if they actually made him comic accurate. I like the joke, but it also was a cop-out for not casting someone who's actually the right height and stout, and they could have done that through computer graphics. They could have shrunk him down, kept his muscle mass, and to make him look like he should look. I think that would have been funnier than the joke that they went with, where he's like all skinny and just shorter. And actually, I think he was like 4 foot tall when he jumped off the bar stool, but whatever. So
yeah, also speaking before he went through that whole variants, looking for Wolverine variants, I think that the opening sequence is very good. I think it definitely, compared to the other two opening sequences, I think that...
You mean the bye stuff?
Yeah, that was really good. I really liked that. I think that was really, real creative to harken back to Logan. And you can't beat the original one when he had the intro with the original Deadpool. That was just, first time seeing it, just totally unexpected. And then the second one with Celine Dion, that was also unexpected. This was, I think, much more fun. And I think it fits with the MCU type of funniness and humorous. Whereas the other two were more, I don't know, they're more dead, I should say. This one was,
What did you think of Cassandra Nova in the movie? Would you make of her? You think she was overpowered? She was a good addition?
let me throw it in about that to all our viewers here. In case everyone knows Charles Xavier, and in case everyone is a character out of nowhere, and in case everyone wondering of who she is, she's basically the twin sister of Charles Xavier in the womb, as she mentioned. Because in the comic book, she was trying to psychically try to kill Charles Xavier while they're still in the womb, and then somehow when Charles Xavier somehow woke up in the womb, she psychically pushed her out, leaving her the physical body die while she's somehow in an astral plane. And so I give the writers credit of sending her to the TVA void and everything, while in the comics she was stuck in the astral plane until she later in the comics found a way to possess Charles Xavier's body, something like that. But to answer your question, is she powerful? Yes. Technically, she's supposed to be the same level as Charles Xavier, or actually a little more stronger than her, actually, because she's Omega level. So
they did mention she was an Omega level in this movie, and I think that's the first time we've heard Omega level mutant inside of the MCU, because we haven't heard a lot about mutants in general. Not the first time we heard Omega met, but no, that's not true, because the X-Men 97 isn't that part of the... No, it's not part of the MCU. It's part of Marvel Studios. So Omega level mutant, I think everything that you said was in the movie except for the sewer part. Yeah, the part that they didn't mention is that she went to this pain, but she also was in the sewer, and she made herself a body from the sewer. I think that was probably too much exposition to say all that, but they did hint at how powerful she was. She was sent here before she could walk, so she could still take care of herself. Right. If anyone tried to mess with her, even as a baby who couldn't talk or walk, she could probably melt their brain, so she still could take care of herself, because she almost killed Charles in the womb. So yeah.
Right. Yeah, very freaky with the hands coming out. That was freaky as F.
Apparently, she doesn't do that very much. She did that to one person, and they decided to make it her thing in this movie. They actually they put prosthetics on her fingers. You can see her fingers look longer than they should. But yeah, it was definitely a good effect. It was an interesting effect.
Yeah, I would say that she's definitely a compelling villain. They killed her off, yes, sure, but I think that very menacing in a lot of respects, and you can definitely see the pure evil. Although there was one part where she gave them the sling ring before the end, before Aliyah took everybody, and I think that you saw that I think that Wolverine was trying to get to her human side, and it was very interesting that even after all of that menace and all of that, I would say, sadistic type of
she's
action.
Sadistic, yes. She's a sadist, yes.
All that type of action had some humanity in her, and Wolverine was able to bring that out, and then they were able to jump the timeline, jump through the portal, the sling ring portal. Yeah, that was very interesting to me.
Yeah, she's definitely a sadist. Her funniest line was when she was about to die, and they're like, "Are you not gonna kill us?" And she said, "Yeah, I'm gonna melt your brain while flicking my beans." And soundtrack. My wife laughed out loud when she ridiculous. Deadpool is like, why you like this? I don't know. It's like, she's definitely crazy. She's very crazy. Yeah.
But also Deadpool here, I think that we really have to give credit to Ryan Reynolds to keeping the movie consistent throughout in terms of the violence, in terms of the humor, in terms of the fourth wall breaking. Keeping it all together is not easy at all. And I think that you have to give credit to Sean Levy as well, the director, and all the writers that were there, including Levy and Ryan Reynolds, because it is so hard to bring all these pieces together. We've seen it before in Avengers Age of Ultron. It was a mess and it was not put together very neatly. Whereas here, I think that they really did a good job, and I can see why Marvel was trying to look at Sean Levy to do future Avenger movies, because he's able to put these characters together. We also forget that his 8 friends that were there, they were also part of the movie. Even though they had a small role, they were part of the movie. And we also have to consider putting in Hunter B-15, like from Young Loki, and putting her into this movie. So all these different parts that he had to put in together into this crossover movie,
plus all the Deadpools.
Yes, it's really is an amazing piece of work in that sense, because all of it is definitely, for a lesser writer or lesser director, it can be a complete mess. And we've seen that from the Fox universe movies, with the Fantastic Four, not the second one, but the third one that they did with Michael B. Jordan. We know that it can be a mess.
Yeah, Fantastic or whatever.
Yeah, Fantastic, exactly.
Yeah, that's why that, in case you didn't notice, at the credits there, everyone thought like another scene in the movie, but it actually feels like it's a memory of all the Fox movies together. Saying, bye-bye, Fox, we got this now.
I mentioned in my review that this is definitely the better send-off to the Fox network. Sorry, the Fox superhero X-Men universe than Dark Phoenix, because Dark Phoenix was the last movie. That was not a great movie. This is a much better send-off to the Fox movies, because some of them weren't great. Probably more than half of them weren't great, but some of them were great. Some of them were really good movies. Logan is in there. Age of Future Past is in there. X2 is in there. You have some good movies in there. Yeah.
Blade 2 was actually very good too.
Yeah, I like Blade 2.
Although I think those are technically New Line movies, but they had some good movies in there. They wanted to pay tribute to what Fox did. So I really appreciate that. Yeah. Anything else you wanted to cover? We haven't talked about every single thing. Matt McFadden was also pretty good in this movie as a bad guy. Basically played, you guys watched Succession, he basically played Tom. He's basically a sniveling guy in Succession as well, but he was great in his role, like trying to get ahead or trying to weasel his way through the organization. He did that basically in Succession as well. So he was great. I don't know if we're going to see the TVA again. It'd be interesting to actually see where that goes. If he has some repercussions, I would like to see like a Loki season 3. It's difficult to do that because Loki's on the spoilers for Loki if you haven't seen Loki. So Loki's on the throne of the World Tree. So I don't know if they can get back to him.
I don't know about whether or not there is going to be a season 3, but felt that there was some finality to that. But at the same time, I would suspect that there's going to be some TVA stuff because of the Avenger movies coming up. We don't know whether or not what direction they're going to go with the Avenger movies. There's been rumors and stuff like that. We probably will find out more in Comic-Con, because Comic-Con's happening right now. So there's been stuff coming out of that. And Marvel's going to do their big Hall H panel. I think tomorrow they're going to do it. So we're going to see a lot of the future slate of Marvel movies, and speculate all we want. And so I think going back to what I said about it being rescuing the MCU in some way, Marvel Jesus, like he quoted, I don't know. I think that it's still up in the air with that premise, because there's some good things. And also they're in other, they're still in universe, was it 1003?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. So they're not in 616.
Because everyone says, there's an article saying everyone in the Avengers changed their profile welcoming Deadpool into the Marvel Universe. I think he might, this was asked, there was an article out where he was asked, when Ryan Reynolds was asked if he would do Deadpool 4. And he made this joke. He pulled like a Tom Brady thing. He says, no way, who am I, Tom Brady? If I did the Deadpool 4, my wife would divorce me. It's like that. But I think he might show up at Avengers Secret Wars. That's one.
Yeah, I don't think they're done with the character. I think that they will definitely use the character again. I think what they're done with is like even Iron Man, he got 3 movies and then they stopped. And then he just showed up as like a player in other movies. So yeah, I don't think that they're going to do another film with Ryan Reynolds. don't know. He might be a star of a ensembles piece. Just Iron Man became a star of other movies. So
Right.
yeah.
And what do you think of his trying to join the Avengers? That was a really funny bit.
That was a funny bit. That
Yeah.
definitely was a funny bit. I like that quite a bit. And also, Jon Favreau is funny. He'll show up for anything for this universe. I guess he could because he helped start it. It's funny, like, he's making fun of Jon Favreau for being the guy who's showing up. Like, he goes half and half making fun of Jon Favreau and half making fun of Happy Hogan about being a chauffeur. But it's funny how he breaks the fourth wall. Like, he's like in the conversation with the character for a second, and then sometimes he's making references to the fourth wall stuff. Because he said he doesn't do this sort of thing. And he's what do you mean cameos? He's definitely talking about Robert Downey Jr. not doing cameos, which is funny. I'm sure Robert Downey Jr. probably has more money than Jon Favreau, but like Jon Favreau is not just an actor, he's a director who's directed very expensive movies. So it's not like he's just some bit person. So yeah.
I also enjoyed that he was putting the Easter eggs of all the memorabilia that was in the room there. So it was really interesting to see all those different parts and to reminisce about the MCU in a lot of ways. And they put it timeline-wise, they put it in a space where I think it was before Infinity War that he visited. I think it was, but in any case, it was a nice touch that they were able to be timeline accurate, sacred timeline accurate, and care about that. So it's good that they were able to continue to have that continuity.
May I ask this one thing? Now, I have to ask this. I've been waiting for this for a long time. What do you all, actually, I think all of us agree we want to see this for a long time. What do you all think when Hugh Jackman finally wore the legendary iconic mask? What's your reaction about that?
I think in some shots it looked good, in some shots it did not. It looked good in certain shots. In certain shots, the angle that they had on it, it looked a little weird. And it didn't seem to fit properly. But in some shots, it looked good.
Yeah, I'm glad they finally wore the mask. And also another point, a cool thing is that it's really cool that Ryan Reynolds' wife, Blake Lively, played Lady Deadpool. So that's like really fun.
Yeah,
that was a fun thing. And there's a rumor going on that their oldest daughter is one of the kid Deadpool ones. So short one. People thought it's the baby, but I'm like, no, the baby's too young right now. But
I think that the mask, I agree with Nathan. It worked on some places. Didn't work in some places for me. And the Batman joke was very funny in a lot of ways. But I just think that we're just so used to having showing Hugh Jackman's face without the mask. It just took me out of it a little bit. And also I think because it's not as emotionally invested with the yellow suit, because we've seen it so many times in previews. I think when we saw it in the trailers, it was emotional, but also because we had X-Men 97. So it wasn't a deep emotional cut for me as it was, say, Endgame or even with Spider-Man No Way Home. That was much more of an emotional deep cut for me, especially when the three Peters were on the roof talking about what great power comes with great responsibility, and then they just finished the line. He's like, how the hell do you know that? And that was much more emotional than anything that was here. But I do appreciate and respect Ryan Reynolds was trying to do with coming into the MCU, and I think that he did it on his terms, and I respect that. But emotional level, it's definitely not as big as some of the other scenes that we've seen in Marvel.
Okay. I think that if they're gonna do it again, they can definitely fix it to make it look a little bit better. But yeah, I liked it. I liked that they did it. If you're gonna do the suit, you have to do the mask at some point. So yeah. Anything else we missed?
I think we covered everything pretty much.
Yep. Went through all the cameos. I think we talked about everyone who showed up. Yeah, you even mentioned Hunter B-15. One thing that we didn't mention is the Thor thing. That's gonna happen in the future. He kept talking about it too. Like he woke up from getting beat up by Logan and said Thor in the cave. There was a specific. Speaking of the cave, there's a that in Multiverse of Madness, that sculpture of Wanda that was on Mount Wendigo. It's on the back. It's in the back of that cave. Like it was like a piece of it was in the back of that cave. Like it was behind Elektra when she was talking. So there are all kinds of Easter eggs. I'm sure other channels that actually spend time pointing at doing all the Easter eggs, there's probably hundreds of Easter eggs, especially in the wasteland. Yeah. All right, so I guess that's pretty much it for our conversation. But we want to hear what you guys think. So please comment down below, like and share. And if you want more content like this, please subscribe. All right, guys. Bye.